brand new Raid Shadow Legends update 1050. By the way, start farming spider while you're watching this video. We have the brand new, I'm just trying to get you guys ready ahead of time. We have the brand new Tholin Fusion. We have a few more legendaries. We also do have a login legendary, although I question how strong it actually is. It's good at turn cycling. I will say that. It's a attack type unit from Sylvan Watchers that is good at turn cycling. We also have another new rare from Sylvan Watchers and a new epic from, I forget which is the which faction the new epic is from. I don't know why I'm going there. That's not where they are. Skinwalkers, I believe, is where the new epic is from. Yeah, Narox. So actually, since we're already here, let's take a look at Narox first. Did I already mention that we have the calendars so we can see what the order of these different events and tournaments are? But this is the new epic for the Tholin Fusion, which we can see over here. I think that the best strategy, the best way to approach this is if you get, because there is actually an event where you can get a Narox. It is the summon event. I think it's either the Champion Chase or the Summon Rush. One of those. And there's enough of these Glensage Sithrils to fuse without the Narox. But if you get the Narox from that summon event, then it's going to be much easier. You can like miss and actually do life things, so you don't have to have all of the Glensage Sithrils in here. Or you could just buy a bunch of voids, but a bunch of void shards, and worst case scenario, the very last minute you can do that. Also, make sure that you have enough resources to ascend these units as well, which I think is going to be a frustration for a lot of people that are maybe new to the game or like early mid game. They might not have enough resources. So make sure you're stocked up on those as well, because I could definitely see that being a pain point later on. And then there's the packs that pop up there like, oh, are you having a problem ascending your units? Here's a pack. Spend all the money. Anyway, let's take a look at this guy and what he does. We can actually take a look there. But this is a good ally protection unit. So he's got an epic defense type unit. He's got the decreased speed over here with the first skill attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 30% chance placing, 30% decreased speed debuff. Goes up to 50% chance. 2 hits, so not terrible. Not amazing, not terrible. Second skill, means to an end. Place a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Also place a counterattack buff on this champion for 2 turns. Nice to protect your allies. Here's another nice to protect your allies skill. Attacks all enemies at 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted if this champion's defense is lower than the target's. Place a 30% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. Damage based on defense. And we have this Loath Pariah, which gives him more potential to continue to provoke and provoke and provoke. Although provoke units are not necessarily the most exciting units in Raid. People just want to kill things, and then that's that. They don't want to spend the entire day provoking units. But I could see this being useful in some stages of Doom Tower, maybe Curse City, Faction Wars, so things like that. Whenever an enemy attacks an ally under ally protection, which you do with the means to an end, has a 15% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Not a crazy chance, 15%, but it's better than nothing. It's a nice stop your allies from dying type unit. Again, I don't think he's going to be he's not going to be as exciting as the last one that we actually built, and where is he? Where is he? He's right here. Use on the Marooned. I love to use him. I love to use him. Dad jokes, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, he's missing a necklace. Look at that. But I think this one is just much more useful. He's got the AoE strip. He's got the cleanse and the block debuffs. Really, really nice unit. He's got the heals too. We gotta work on his masteries, but it is what it is. So we have the tournament going on right now, the Spider tournament, and at the same time we have the Coalition event as well, which is nice as long as you get 1,500, I believe. Yeah, to receive Coalition progress rewards, you must earn at least 1,500. But then we have the whole everyone. We have the whole everyone working together to get points on this. So, and then we have, can you guys see the rewards down here. Nothing ridiculous, but it is not something you have to focus on too much. And then we also have some limited quests for getting Tholin, upgrading his skills, etc., etc., unlocking his masteries, things like that. I know some people already have him. It's wild. Absolutely wild. Dungeon Divers, and what I was going to say is we have the Dungeon Divers going on right now, and Spider. So, and you're going to be trying to get this Glen Sage Sithril, so you're going to be going for the 3,700 points. But again, voids to get him, or trying to get the other unit that we just mentioned. Why do I always forget what their names are? Always, every single time. Narox. I'm going to forget his name in 5 seconds anyway. So, yeah. And then the Glen Sage Sithril, where am I going? Not really an exciting unit. It's a rare, and you're going to be summoning a crap ton of them. But yeah, I would go for trying to get the Narox from the summon event if possible, because then it's just going to give you some wiggle room to mess up a little bit, and we know how that works. we know we're messing up all the time. I know that I will be messing up, so I'm going to try to avoid that if possible. Worst case scenario is summons to try to get at the very end, but you could always avoid that by summoning during the summon event to get the extra Narox and then give yourself some wiggle room. I'm sorry, I hit the microphone. So this is the unit that you're going to be getting 1,000,000 of. 35% chance to place 25% decrease accuracy debuff for 2 turns, goes up to a 50% chance. Second skill attacks all enemies, heal reduction debuff for 2 turns, damage based on attack. And then we have the blocks debuffs on all allies for 1 turn, fills turn meters of all allies by 15%, 4 turn cooldown after its max. Not really a crazy skill up situation. You only have to put 1 skill up into this, but it's just, I don't get too excited about this. Would I build him? I don't have any interest in building him, although there are a couple units in here. The legendary that you get from the login, which they didn't show yet. We're going to show the legendary actually now, but they did not show it in the game. It's not in the game yet. So let's take a look here at the Fusion event calendar. We got the Dungeon Divers and the Spider Tournament. That's why I'm saying do spiders now. Get it started. Then we have the Summon Rush and Champion Training Tournament next. It's nice that they have these both at the same time so that you can summon things and then you can build them. And what else do we have? Oh, we also, if you see at the very bottom, Narox Blackhorn is, you get all the Glen Sage Sithrils from here, but you don't need 4 of them if you get the Narox from the Summon Rush event. And then we have on the 7th, Gear Enhancement event, Classic Arena Takedown, Ice Golem, Dungeon Divers, Gear Enhancement, Dragon Tournament, Champion Chase, Champion Trading, Dungeon Divers, Classic Arena Takedown, Gear Enhancement, Fire Knight Tournament. So, I mean, it's fairly standard. It's what you would expect. Try to get that extra Narox if you can. I think that's just going to make things much less stressful in theory. And then what else do we have here? There's some... this is just explaining the things that we already talked about. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're launching a special Tholin Fusion. I saw this. It's not that special. Tholin Fusion pack containing items that will help you crush the Fusion events and tournaments. This pack will be available in the shop for 2 days only. Don't miss it. It's not as good as the other packs that are already out in the game, so I don't know what's so exciting about it. But sure, it's an extra pack, is what they're saying. Anyway, what else do we have here? New champions. Collect all 4 legendary champions before August. I know people do this. It's just it's crazy for me to think. Leminisi the Goldwing. This is the one that's the login bonus, and that is not out just yet. Leminisi Chase. Legendary Silver Watcher will leap into the fray, help save the day. Leminisi the Goldwing will be available later on the Chaos Awakes event for all players to claim after login for 7 days. You can claim her Perfect Soul after login for another 7 days. After that, complete specific objectives to earn further rewards. I think it gets, I mean, to get the Perfect Soul, there's, I think, more value than just getting the unit, because I don't think the unit is that exciting. It is an attack type unit that does a lot of heal blocks, does turn cycling when the opponent heals, and puts shields on. It also does a little single target strip too. But like, it's just not a very exciting legendary from what I'm seeing. But We also got the new relics, which are always a challenge to get. Oil and extract mix. This is nice quality of life improvement. Oil and extract mixer. Utilize your excess oils and extracts with the oil and extract mixer. Swiftly combine low tier resources into high tier ones and ascend your gear. Champion rebalance. We got the Mountain King. I don't really want to talk too much about the champion rebalance because I am not a seasoned Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, I have played casually for a long time, on and off, but there are better people to explain the champion rebalances and how that's really going to impact the meta. I see Mountain King. What else do we have? Blind Seer. Improvements. We got a whole bunch of bug fixes. So that's kind of, we don't really need to go through that too much. Not really a balanced patch per se. There's just a couple little tweaks to some units. And then these are the ones that are more exciting. They're talking about the whole, we ripped up, what is it called? Bastion. We ripped up your Bastion. Event dungeon, which is, I've seen the event dungeon on the test server. I don't have access to the test server, but I've seen other people do the event dungeon on the test server, and it is a ridiculously hard nightmare for even pay-to-win players. So I cannot imagine normal human beings having any chance to actually do that. Hooray! Hooray! I'm sorry with the dad jokes. I'm sorry. What else do we have? Oh, here's the new relics. Some of these are just crazy strong. Where deals 5% more damage, receive 5% speed when above 50% HP. Below 50% HP, where deals 25% less damage and loses 15 speed. What else do we have? Covetous Passion, where receives a 15% shatter buff for 2 turns at the start of the round. 30% chance to place a 15% shatter buff on the wearer for 1 turn upon killing the enemy. Shatter increases the champion's ignored defense effects by 7.5 or 15%. We got the Skull of Treason. HP burn debuffs placed by the wearer deal 10% more damage to enemies with higher max HP. This one seems like it's going to be very popular. Gilded Pinion, where receives 1% less damage for each turn of cooldown on all of their skills. Grail of Agony, epic. When enemies steal or decrease the wearer's turn meter, the wearer instead loses 2% max HP for every 1% turn meter that would have been lost or stolen. Can kill the wearer. Always fun when things can kill the person wearing it. Makes me so excited to use them. Gaze of Damnation, where deals 2% more damage per skill activated, stacks up to 10%, receives 1% less damage per skill not activated, stacks up to 5% by enemies under fear or true fear debuffs. I could see some synergies going on there. Sinner's Cloak, where receives 1% defense for each 15% HP missing, stacks up to 75% missing HP. This could be interesting for units that do more damage, that do damage based on defense and scale stronger with lower HP. So then we have Tempest Morbidia, decrease and steal turn meter effects are 15% less effective against the wearer. So that could be nice for a kind of interruption style unit. What else do we have for this? Rebalance champions. Oh, this is the Mountain King that they're talking about. They were talking about before, and then the Blind Seer as well. You can kind of see the rebalance here, but again, I don't want to really talk too much about it because I don't. Lovely that I keep hitting the microphone. But yeah, I don't have the end game experience for PvP to really be going too ham about this. I'm very old school. Throw a lot of damage at it. Can I kill it with Alice the Wanderer? Well, then it's probably not going to die. That's my new strategy. Okay, so we have the Kurosa, the Covetous, Mythical Demon Spawn support unit. We have this is her human form, and then we have the demon form, the alternate form after that. So attacks all enemies, heals all allies. Value of the heal is proportional to the champion's attack. Remove all debuffs from skill 2. Remove all debuffs from all allies. Increase attack buff and a shield on all allies for 2 turns. Value of the shield is proportional to this champion's attack. We have the Running Rampant, plays a taunt buff and a 25% fortify buff on this champion for 2 turns. Also places unkillable on all allies except for this champion for 2 turns. I could see this already, but like we're not even done. We're a third of the way done with talking about the skills. I could already see this being so useful. But of course, it is a mythical unit, and of course it's useful because it is ridiculously hard to get. People have been, this is like LD5. I mean, this is more LD5. Mythical units are more LD5 than Void Legendaries, which are supposed to be the LD5 equivalents. What do we have here? Metamorph transforms this champion to their alternate form, grants an extra turn. Passive effect, receive 15% less damage for each alive ally, which seems very strong. Active effect, instantly transforms the champion into their alternate form whenever their last living ally is killed. Aura is 35% ally attack in all battles. And then we have the alternate form, skill 1, destroyer of all, attacks one enemy 3 times. If this attack kills an enemy, deals pure damage to all other enemies. If the other enemies are not bosses or minions, the amount of pure damage dealt is equal to 30% of the initial target's max HP. If the other enemies are bosses or minions, their pure damage dealt is equal to 10% of their max HP instead. This attack cannot be critical. Then we have the, it kind of feels like a Pungbeck situation. I mean, I'm going to always reference everything in Summoner's War terms, apparently. The second skill, Icon of Havoc, attacks all enemies before attacking, steals all buffs from all enemies. Target whose attack is lower than this champion's attack cannot resist this effect. Also places a 25% weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Those whose attack is equal to or lower than this champion's attack cannot resist this effect. It feels so strong, but it's a mythical unit. It's supposed to feel strong. We have Ruthless Agent, plays a 15% shatter buff and a 30% increased crit rate buff on this champion for 3 turns. True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Targets whose attack is equal to or lower than this champion's attack cannot resist this effect. Build it strong, and you don't have to worry about putting accuracy on it, because I would still put accuracy on it, but not focus. That wasn't supposed to be a pun. That wasn't supposed to be a dad joke. Put accuracy, but don't focus on it. Lols. Just build it as a damage dealer, because it's got the damage mitigation anyway. And then we have the, where else are we? Transforms into their base form, grants an extra turn with a Metamorph. Vile Murderous, deals 15% more damage for each dead ally. Each critical hit boosts this champion's turn meter by 10% for each dead ally. Ridiculous. Ridiculous unit. I'll never get it, and I will try to avoid this at all costs. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I wouldn't avoid it at all costs. There are other mythicals that would be more dangerous to hit on arena defense, so I probably will still hit this. But then we have the Tholin Foulbeard, which is, we talked about him in a previous video. He's got a lot of AoE. He's got ignore defense. We could take a look at him again. Attacks all enemies. First skill, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, has a 25% chance of placing a weakened debuff for 2 turns. Really nice. Also, he activates his first skill as well, as part of his passive. 50% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance, a boss, or a minion. This effect cannot be resisted by enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses, or minions. Grants an extra turn if a weakened debuff was placed on all enemies by this skill. Potential for just extra free turns. Then we have the Back to the Abyss, skill 2, attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit will ignore 25% target's defense if the boss is from the Corrupted Alliance, boss, or minion. Each hit ignores 50% of the target's defense instead. I could see this being so useful in things like Spider, which makes me want it even more. Each hit decreases the target's attack by 5%. This is also really nice. Each hit decreases the target's attack by 5%, stacks up to 25%. Each hit also increases this champion's attack by 5%, stacks up to 50%. Just all the fact of AoE first skill that does a weakened debuff. You're not going to get that extra turn if it's placed on all enemies. Like, for example, in Spider, that's a lot of enemies to actually land on. So I cannot imagine that that's going to happen, but he will still passively use this Demon Breaker skill, which is kind of wild. Then we have the Rabid Fury, attacks all enemies 2 times before attacking, places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. For each critical hit land on the first hit, increase the damage dealt on the second hit by 10%, will ignore unkillable and shield buffs. And then we have the Evil's Nightmare, attacks activates Demon Breaker skill every 5th turn this champion takes. Enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses, and minions cannot land a critical hit on this champion. So it's really, really good in niche situations, but still, he's got some good AoEs. He's got some nice single target for bosses. So solid unit. I am excited to get him. I just have to make sure I actually do all of the things that are required to actually get him. Then we have the Leminisi, the Goldwing. This is the login unit. So this is the unit that is much easier to get, however, not as useful. It is a Force Affinity attack type from the Sylvan Watchers. We have the first skill, Auric Talons. Attack one enemy 2 times. The target is under shield buff. Each attack has a 25% chance of decreasing the value of the shield by 10%. Okay. We'll also ignore 50% target's resistance to the target from the Corrupted Alliance if the target is not under any shield buffs. Each hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense instead. I like that a little bit better, but it just seems weird for it to be decreasing the value of the shield. Like, you're attacking it, which is also decreasing the value of the shield. So there's that. Maybe I'm not giving it enough credit, but it's just a skill 1 anyway. We have the Intercept the Threat. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 100% chance of removing 2 random buffs from the target. Will also ignore 10% of the target's resistance if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance. This skill deals more damage equal to the value of the target's current turn meter. Stacks up to 100%. I mean, that's kind of nice, but you have to time it specifically to get the value there. And then we have the Venerated Warrior. Attacks all enemies 2 times. First hit has a 75% chance of placing a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. Second hit has a 50% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 2 turns. Will also ignore 50% of the target's resistance if the target is from the Corrupted Alliance. I love ignore defense. This one is ignore 50% of the resistance conditionally if they are from the Corrupted Alliance. Okay. And then we have Scourge of Evil. Receives 15% less damage from enemies under heal reduction debuffs. Okay, it does heal reduction debuffs. That's nice. Fills the champion's turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy receives a shield buff or is healed. That seems very interesting against sustained teams. And then you also have the heal reduction for sustained teams. I feel like I would use this in niche situations, and I would also put Destroy on it to destroy some of their max HP. I know it's not called Destroy, but I'm going to continue to call it Destroy because Summoner's War. What, Corrupt? And then we have the increased ally attack in all battles by 25%. So I feel like I would use this against sustained heavy teams. Strips, block buffs, heal reductions. That's like I could see this being useful in Tag Arena, maybe. That's the only place that I feel like I would use this, but maybe I'm missing some of the value. I mean, there's some things where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to use this. And then I'm like, oh, this is actually better than I thought it was. So you never know. You never know until you test it out. And then sometimes like, ooh, this is a lot better. This is a lot better. So we have Balar the Lost. I actually didn't take a look at this guy just yet. So we're going to be looking at him together. How many more do we have? Balar, Gracchus, Turndrake, Narox, Blackhorn, which we already looked at, Glen Sage, which we already looked at, and then people being angry at the fun is always people. Any forum ever on the internet ever is always just people being angry. So we have the two more. First skill, attacks one enemy before attacking, plays a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. Value of the shield is proportional to the champion's attack. 50% chance of placing 25% poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns. That's actually not bad for a skill 1. I mean, it's a legendary. There's not too many poison sensitivity units out there that apply that. And then we have the Twister of Life. Attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a leech debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. That's nice to be able to just bring in a whole bunch of nuke units and then have the leech, and then that is your sustain for the team. And then you could just go ham with the damage. So 75% chance of placing a leech debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. I feel like that could be good for Spider. Instantly activates all poison debuffs on all enemies. That's another nice one. Man, this one I really like more than the Leminisi. Leminisi. I just want to say Leminisi. Is that so wrong? Monstrous Growth attacks one enemy before attacking. Place a 50% increased accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased resistance buff on all enemies for 2 turns. Places 3 5% poison debuffs on the initial target for 2 turns. If this attack is critical, places 3 poison debuffs for 2 turns on all enemies instead. I could see this having a lot of value, to be honest. I could see this having much more value than the other one, Leminisi. And then we have the Lost to Chaos. Increase the champion's ignore defense effect by 1% for each poison debuff instantly activated by this champion, stacks up to 20%. Fill this champion's turn meter by 5% whenever a poison debuff is placed on an enemy, which seems like a lot of turn cycling. So we're seeing a bunch of turn cycling from here with the Leminisi. And then we're seeing turn cycling with Balar the Lost. I like Balar much better. Increase accuracy in all battles by 60%. So you have the increased accuracy from his skill, from his monster's growth. You have the increased accuracy from the aura, and then you have the decrease resistance from the monster's growth. And I feel like he's going to be a reliable unit for a poison team. I could definitely see some good dungeon teams that have him in him. Have him in there. I don't know, guys. I can't speak English anymore. I thought I was maybe forgetting how to speak other languages, which that is also the case, but just forgetting everything. Gratios Turndrake. Is he going to turn cycle? Probably. Based on what we've seen from everything else. Probably. First skill attacks one enemy. Chaff Reaper. Attacks one enemy, will ignore 25% target's defense. I already like it. Heal all odds with less than 50% HP by 10% of this champion's max HP. Only with less than 50% HP, though. I wish it wasn't conditional, but yeah, I don't even have the unit. Why am I thinking that it needs to be it needs to be better? Do you have it? No. Does it impact you at all? No. Make it better, just because I said so. Color of the weak attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit will ignore 25% defense against targets with less than 50% HP. First set has a 75% chance of placing a 60% decrease defense debuff on each enemy. Decrease defense debuff on each enemy for 2 turns. Second hit has a 75% chance of placing a block buffs debuff on each enemy for 2 turns. Each hit will ignore 25% resistance against targets with less than 50% HP. And then we have Dragonkin Warcry places 60% increase defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. Also places a block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn. Let's take a look at the I'm looking at the cooldowns. Okay, not bad, not bad. And then with the Ferocious Ambition, if an ally has more than 50% HP and is under any buffs placed by this champion, that ally deals 10% more damage. If an ally has less than 50% HP and attacked by an enemy under any debuffs placed by this champion, that ally receives 10% less damage. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. He also has the ally HP in all battles by 28%. I could definitely see, like, of course I like Balar the Lost the best. And then Gracchus turn... Gracchus? Gracchus? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. Gracchus Turndrake is second, and then I feel like Leminisi is third. But I never get excited about heal block. I really don't. I'm not going to get these units anyway, but at least I'll get I would hope that we're going to get the Tholin and Foulbeard. It seems like a very useful unit, but hopefully we get the Balar the Lost as well. So anyway, that's it for this one. Just wanted to talk about all of the new units in the game. Leminisi's not out yet. Hopefully it's not going to be that ridiculous to actually get these events done, though. Fingers crossed. I'm going to go farm Spider. I would suggest you do the same. Don't leave these things to the last minute because we know what happens. Save your summons. Well, save your summons for a couple more days anyway. I already depleted most of mine. So I'm going to have to try to get as many as I can and try to not open the wallet. But you know how these things go. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you as always in the next one.